On today's show, Andrew Cristall will be back in the lineup versus the Bruins. Who else will be in the lineup for the Caps? I'll discuss next on this edition of Locked On Capitals.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. As always, this podcast is free and available on all the major platforms, including the SiriusXM app and on YouTube. And I want to thank you for making this your first listen each and every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called The Capitals Minutecast, available wherever you find your podcasts. You can find me on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. And the best way that you can help grow the show is to subscribe to Locked On Capitals on YouTube and comment anything down below. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about Andrew Cristall, and he played so well that he will be playing in preseason game number 2 against the Bruins. Is it trending in the direction that he could actually break camp with the team? We'll talk about that a little bit later. We'll talk about Alex Ovechkin as he chases down the great one, Wayne Gretzky. What's the plan for him this season? Is he going to see limited time, or is it going to be business as usual? And then in the final segment, we'll talk about ultimately who is going to be in the game versus the Bruins. But just to get it going here, talking about Andrew Cristall, and that is the feel-good story of the last game. I know the Capitals did not win, but that's not what it was all about for me. What it was about was getting a chance to see a lot of this young talent out on the ice. And Andrew Cristall is one of the players that has kind of stuck with me in his performance the day after. And if you are a Capitals fan or a sports fan, sometimes you ruminate and you think about the game and you're like, what really stood out? Andrew Cristall's play was the thing that for me that jumped out the most. And I've been thinking a lot more and more, is there the possibility that he could break camp with the team and do the unthinkable? At 19 years old, could he be the next member of the Capitals? And for the longest time, I was thinking to myself, Dan, that's crazy. It's not going to happen. It was just one game. Let's not get carried away. It's not impossible. It might be improbable, but I think what's going to happen is the Capitals are going to want to see more of him if he can play very well in game number 2. And if it's something that is sustainable, then why not? It's exciting for me to think about, as it was kind of a long shot, and it still is. But that is the one thing that has really stuck with me after the first game. There was a lot of negative, but the play of his play out on the ice in particular was one of the things that really jumped out. But talking about Andrew Cristall, the Caps' second-round pick from the 2023 NHL draft, scored his first NHL preseason goal against the Flyers. The 19-year-old winger demonstrated his skills on the ice, registering 3 shots on goal, 4 shot attempts at 5-on-5, 2 takeaways, and finishing the game with a plus-minus of +1. I don't even think the expectation was that high for him. Of course, we wanted to see him score a goal, which he did, and all these great things. But I think that he exceeded my expectations, and I think the coaching staff's expectations as well, as you don't see a lot of the players that played in game number 1 and game number 2. So I think that speaks volumes and kind of the coaching staff on what they expect from him. As Capitals fans, as someone that does a podcast, for me, it might seem like a long shot, and maybe it is. But hey, I think that Andrew Cristall is a guy that is not afraid to dream. And us as Capitals fans, we should not be afraid to dream either. And if he can continue to get a great performance like we saw Sunday, I think anything is possible. Despite the 6-2 loss to the Flyer, Cristall's performance was notable as he showcased his offensive capabilities, nearly scoring a breakaway goal and creating several other scoring opportunities. Capitals head coach Spencer Carberry praised Cristall's performance, highlighting his ability to create opportunities and his noticeable presence on ice. The game marked Cristall's second career NHL preseason appearance, and he is looking to continue making an impact as he gains confidence at this level of play. He looked pretty comfortable. That's what was another thing that really stood out to me. He didn't look out of place. He looked like he belonged. And you take a look at it. I know there was young talent for the Flyers on the ice. I know there was young talent for the Caps out there. How would he perform against the best of the best? Say it had been the best of the Flyers out there with the best of the Capitals. Would he have popped off the page as much? I guess that is going down a tributary in my mind that I don't need to go down to. But I think that if we can continue to see him perform at an elite level, even it's the preseason, then I think it's at least possible that he could break camp with the team. We know he can't go to the Hershey Bears. His options are Kelowna or the Capitals. It's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. But talking about his physical maturation and offensive instincts, and one of the biggest knocks on his game was his skating, that he lacked skating straight line strength, and he lacked bursts of energy and bursts of speed. And he hired a coach just to rectify that situation. And we saw that on the breakaway play, that he has a pretty good giddy up in his step. And I know the goalie blocked him 5-hole, but what I saw was impressive. And he has that high hockey IQ that could take him next level sooner than later. Cristall's coach Carberry has observed his physical maturation and increased confidence this year, noting that he now moves with more assuredness and he has added some weight, which has positively impacted his game. And you take a look at some of these players, and I've talked about this. If you are an everydayer of the show, I talk about that, when you saw LaPierre and you saw McMichael, these younger guys in the league, that they got pushed off the puck. And that's one of the things that I've talked about is I think, they teach these young players a lot of things about how to shoot a puck and how to skate and this and that and the other thing. One of the other things I think they could add to that is to be ready for the next level. If you are a top end prospect and it looks like you are headed for the NHL, put the work in, bulk up a little bit, hit the gym, eat a diet that is going to put some pounds on you, because when you see some of these players, they get pushed off the puck easy. And it's one of the things that's been very apparent to me as I looked at the draft the last couple of years. You take a look at Celebrini, you look at Bedard, these guys, pretty small men, all things considered. When you take a look at, like Jaromir Jagr and those players from many years ago, that I think that is something that would serve these players well. And we're starting to see that with Andrew Cristall, as he looks like he put on some mass, some muscle. And I ultimately think that he's shown that dedication, whether it be the skating or putting on that extra weight and muscle mass, has shown his dedication to the game. Despite these physical changes, Cristall's offensive instincts and creativity remained exceptional. Carberry highlighted an instance where Cristall's unique offensive instincts led to a successful play, demonstrating his high hockey IQ and ability to anticipate the puck's movement. That's what I'm talking about. And, I think that is an easy conclusion to jump to. I've heard beat writers, I've heard podcasts already saying, well, he's going to do his best, but ultimately he's going to get assigned to Kelowna. I think it's possible, and it's exciting, and it's definitely going to be a storyline to follow as we watch his journey. As we know, it's the Bruins and it's the Devils in short order. I think that if he is in, like, say, game number 3, things are definitely trending in the right direction for Mr. Cristall. Talking about aspiration and preparation, Cristall, who also anticipated in Capitals rookie camp, is aiming to secure a spot on the NHL team instead of being sent back to the WHL's Kelowna Rockets. I think he's too good for that, and not to disparage the Kelowna Rockets or any of the players. I know it's a good place for players to develop, but maybe he's past all of that. I think he could potentially be NHL ready. The one thing I know for sure, if he wasn't 19 years old, I think that he would be on the Hershey Bears, if not the Capitals, this coming season. Due to the NHL CHL transfer agreement, Cristall is only eligible to play in the NHL or junior hockey, as he is under the age of 20. He has been focusing on improving his strength and speed to excel in the fast-paced NHL environment. Last season, Cristall recorded an impressive 111 points in 62 games for the Rockets, showcasing his strong skating and offensive prowess. That's what I'm talking about. Big numbers with Kelowna, 111 points. That is quite something, and that's what really makes me believe that he is next level ready right now. And again, everything could change in a moment in the game against the Bruins. Tuesday evening, he could totally fall on his face, and this conversation will be for naught. But right now, I'm leading with an optimistic foot. And what I saw from him out on the ice, I don't think it was a flash in the pan. I don't think it was a one-off. I think that it's sustainable, and I want to believe it. And I'll be able to believe that when I see how he plays in game number 2 against the Bruins. All right, so coming up here after the break, we'll talk about the great 8, Alex Ovechkin, as we know he is chasing down the great one, Wayne Gretzky. What is Spencer Carberry's plans for Ovi? I'll discuss straight ahead. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. And listen, there is a football team that I like, that I follow, and I'm interested in it. But there is a lot of football being played on any given Sunday. And maybe you're not that interested. Do you want to get some interest in those games? How about open up the FanDuel app, put a little bit of money on the game? All of a sudden, those games are that much more exciting. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So talking the great 8, Alex Ovechkin, and what kind of season do we think he's going to have this upcoming season? Now, we take a look at last season. As we know, it's kind of rehashing old things. We know he got off to his slowest start in his entire career. And it's interesting that oftentimes people want to focus on one negative moment, kind of like PLD in particular, but they kind of don't want to look at the bigger picture. They don't want to widen the lens. They don't want to get that 30,000 foot view of who the player is or who the team is. And it's easy to cast judgment on Alex Ovechkin because he got off to a slow start, kind of looking past the fact that he ended up scoring 31 goals. So what's the plan? Is there any plan for reduced activity? Is he still going to be as involved with the power play? Those are some of the questions that Spencer Carberry was asked. Talking about Spencer Carberry's decision on Ovechkin's power play time, Spencer Carberry, the head coach of the Caps, discussed the decision to continue double shifting Alex Ovechkin on the power play despite concerns about load management due to Ovechkin's age and extensive career. Ovi holds the NHL record for career power play goals and is known for his lethal scoring ability from the left faceoff circle, his office. Carberry acknowledged considering reducing Ovechkin's power play time, but emphasized the tremendous value Ovechkin brings to the team. Even when he is not playing at 100%, I would take Alex Ovechkin at 80% over many other players in the league at 100%. That's how great he's playing. Ovechkin's power play time, but emphasized the tremendous value of him. Carberry highlighted Ovechkin's effectiveness on the power play, even at 80%, and expressed confidence in the continued rewards of utilizing Ovechkin in this role. And I think, like I spoke of, the people that even question that for a minute are the ones that look and say, hey, he struggled to start last season, forgetting his long 20-year career coming up here in the NHL. So I think it's the right attitude to have. And if you don't have Alex Ovechkin out there when the team needs a guy to stand out the most, then I don't know who is. If it's not the grade 8, who is? Ovechkin's dominance in power play adjustments for the 23-24 season and the 23-24 season, Ovechkin dominated the Capitals' power play, being on the ice for the majority of the team's power play minutes and contributed to a significant portion of the team's goals. However, things have changed in life. We see Backstrom step away and now TJ Oshie. However, with the absence of key players like TJ Oshie, the team is looking to make adjustments to the power play strategy. I would lead with Alex Ovechkin, of course. I think he is the right guy, the only guy to have out on the ice. I know there's a lot of young talent, but when it comes to the rubber meeting the road, I would have the grade 8 out on the ice most any of the time. Talking about potential adjustments to the power play, Coach Carberry is considering utilizing different player strengths and possibility incorporating 2 left-handed players into the power play unit. He acknowledged the challenge of replacing the contributions of Oshie and Backstrom and emphasizes the need for careful consideration and adaptation rather than simply plugging in replacements. We don't want to do that. We don't want to plug in a guy that, hey, he should be pretty good and, maybe we'll see what happens. I would rather go with the sure thing, and 9.8 times out of 10, I guess I would say that is Alex Ovechkin. So putting him in crucial moments, well, that only makes sense to me. Again, it's going to be interesting to see what Ovi shows up when puck drops in the first game, but my reaction to it, he is going to hit the ground running. Exploring different options for the bumper position, Carberry also suggests exploring different options for the bumper position, potentially leveraging Tom Wilson's physicality at the net front and considering players like Dubois and Mangiapane for the bumper role. I think that makes sense as well. You take a look at Tom Wilson, he is not going to get bumped out of position very easily. And if you have someone like Alex Ovechkin out there, that's 2 big frames out on the ice. As the team prepares for the upcoming season, experimentation with the power play configurations will be crucial during the preseason games to optimize the power play unit before the regular season begins. So there is a lot of games in a short span of time, maybe too much if you want me to be honest with you, especially when you take a look at the Devils and the games that are coming, Bruins, Devils, back to back. That is kind of putting the team through its paces, even though I know it's going to be different players, generally speaking, out on the ice in these back-to-back situations. But talking about Alex Ovechkin's perspective on the upcoming season, as Ovi enters his 20th NHL season, he faces a significant challenge. With just 42 goals standing between him and Wayne Gretzky's all-time record, despite the proximity of this milestone, Ovechkin acknowledges the increasing difficulty of scoring in today's NHL, especially as he approaches his 40s. And you take a look at it, what are some of the things? And I did an episode on this, probably over a year ago, talking about how it's more difficult to score goals nowadays than it was years ago. You take a look at the goalies now, they're taller. You take a look at their equipment, the butterfly, all of those kind of things. And you take a look at the goalies years ago. And if you don't believe me, go take a look at some of the goalies from many years ago, much smaller pads, and they didn't get in the butterfly position, and they're kind of just flailing their legs around, trying to kick it out of the way. I know I'm probably going to hear some heat from some real old school fans, but I stand by my assessment that it is more difficult to score goals nowadays than it was years ago. And, to my detractors, the caveat or the exception or a thing to factor in is the sticks nowadays with the flex is much better than it was years ago with the wooden stick. So I'll give you that one. But all things considered, if I'm going to generalize and paint it with a broad brush, it's more difficult to score goals nowadays than it was years ago. Reflecting on his record 18th 30-goal season, Ovi recognizes the evolving nature of the game since his debut in 2005. He emphasizes the changing tactics of teams and goaltenders, as well as the physical transformation of players who have become bigger, stronger, and faster. Take a look at Kemper when we had him on the team. He was a big guy and a tall man. and difficult to try to get a puck past a guy that, pretty much takes up the entire net. So that is the direction that the teams in the NHL in general are going. And I think that is what makes it more difficult. And, Ovechkin didn't say it, and a lot of the fans won't say it, is that, it's been very effective for his career. But from him posting up at the left dot, his office, it's predictable. They see it coming, and the goalies kind of prepare for it. And oftentimes they still can't prepare for it. But what we saw in many cases is Ovechkin being double covered, or even more than that sometimes. So I think that he didn't acknowledge that, but I think an Alex Ovechkin that could diversify where he sets up, I think, and give that goalie some different looks, I think that could be the secret sauce to his success in the upcoming season. The Capitals captain is keenly aware of the need to adapt and stay healthy in order to maintain his performance at the highest level. He emphasizes the importance of making smart decisions and avoiding injuries, which can significantly impact a player's ability to contribute. As we know, you're not going to be able to, chip away at that goal scoring total, up on top, from the press box or at home or whatever the case. Alex Ovechkin in a game time situation, to speak the obvious, is going to do a lot better out on the ice. So the Russian machine that never breaks needs to not break and stay healthy. Despite the pressure of chasing Gretzky's record, Ovechkin remains focused on the immediate task at hand, finding effective line combinations and integrating new teammates into the roster. He stresses the significance of the transitional period and the need to prioritize team success over individual achievements. And I know why he says that. He says that because I put it this way. Do I think he believes that 100%? Not really. I just don't think he wants that light, shine directly on him every game. Are you going to catch Gretzky? Are you going to catch Gretzky? I think that that's important, but I think this team, getting success and trying to win another Stanley Cup while he's still here, that is something that is important as well. Looking ahead to the upcoming season, Ovechkin maintains a positive outlook, expressing excitement and motivation as he prepares to continue his pursuit of hockey greatness. Could this be the season that Alex Ovechkin catches and passes Wayne Gretzky? Maybe. There are some insiders that think as much. And then, you take a look at him missing a practice, and some people are like, push the panic button. For me, I'm still locked in at 35 goals, which he'll be short, of course. I do think he will be able to get it done under his current contract. However, all right, so coming up here after the break, we'll talk about who's in Tuesday night versus the Bruins. I'll discuss straight ahead. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search. Match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. So if you are involved in the hiring, if you are involved in the firing or the HR process in general, you need Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about it on the Locked On Capitals podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. And we are getting to an exciting time of season as professional sports are being played, whether it be football, hockey, whatever the case is. And with PrizePicks, it makes watching these games that much more exciting. That's why I love PrizePicks. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code Locked On NHL at PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So it's back in action Tuesday evening as the Capitals take on the Bruins. And they didn't even get a chance to catch their breath, or they did, I guess, a little bit. They had Monday. There wasn't a game on Monday, but it is back in action. And you got to think that Spencer Carberry and his staff were diligently at work. Who is going to be in game number 2? And one of the things I spoke about in the first segment was, well, that Andrew Cristall, at least as I record this now at 10:25 Eastern, is slated to be back in the game. But it's not just him. Let's take a look at the players projected to be in game number 2. Forwards: Parasek, Protas, Garbosa, McMichael, Cristall, Lapierre, Wilson, Frank, Rabinski, Ilya Protas, Miroshnichenko, Dubé, and Pierre-Luc Dubois. Defensemen: Iorio, Roy, Hamanaktel, Ethan Bear, Alexiev, Faravari, and Chase Prisky. Goaltenders, once again, Hunter Shepard, except this time Mitchell Gibson. What players really pop off the page for me? Who do I want to see in particular? Well, there's 2 that come to mind, but just not 2. Pierre-Luc Dubois, what is he going to look like on the ice? Is he going to exceed expectations? There's a lot of negativity that was surrounding him when he first joined this organization. Maybe not necessarily from the Capitals, but, around the league, of like, what were the Capitals thinking? I would love nothing more for Pierre-Luc Dubois to totally kill it in his first game with the Capitals. That is what I'm looking for. The other player I'm looking forward to quite a bit is Matt Roy. He is the guy that is going to be that blue liner that is going to alleviate a lot of that pressure on John Carlson. But it's not him, just that. It's going to be interesting to see Tom Wilson back out there as well. And you take a look at even Miroshnichenko back in action in game number 2 as well. So it is exciting. And you see Hunter Shepard and Mitchell Gibson, some different looks out there. There is, a caveat out there, I guess, is about Scarbosa and if he's going to be good to go or not. As we know, he got hit with the puck, but on paper, anyway, as I record this, he is scheduled to be in the game. Also exciting to see the 2 Protas brothers. Exciting. And I don't want to, stick to those kind of things like, hey, that's 2 brothers on the ice. Both of those brothers are going to need to bring it, and that is what we're hoping for. Also taking a look at it, Ethan Bear in particular. Can he keep growing his game? We know that he was out. He was in the NHL's Players Assistance Program last season. He took some good steps forward in the first preseason game. We know that in that article with Sammy Silver, he said that he was dealing with depression and those kind of things. So it is exciting to see some of these players back in game number 2. So that is going to be the interesting storylines for me to follow. Again, for all the people that say, hey, Dan, it's just preseason hockey, it doesn't matter. Quite the contrary. These games matter a lot because, hey, these guys, a lot of them are vying for jobs. There's a player that's on a PTO. There's players that could potentially be in Hershey or the big team. There is a lot to keep track of, and make sure and subscribe or follow Locked On Capitals wherever you find your podcasts. The Capitals are preparing for their upcoming preseason matchup against the Bruins. They have an exciting lineup featuring the highly anticipated debut of Pierre-Luc Dubois and Matt Roy. Additionally, fans can look forward to seeing Alexei Protas and his brother playing together for the first time, and Andrew Cristall, who impressed in the first game, is back in action. The roster also includes Parasek, Bear, Iorio, Mitchell Gibson, who will likely split the game with Hunter Shepard. So a lot to be excited about. And if you can't watch the game or be there in person, if that's not something, depending on where you live, it is on the NHL Network and Monumental, so make sure and check it out. Roster and potential player sit out. With 13 forwards and 7 defensemen on the roster, it's expected that one player from each category might sit out. However, there's the possibility that Sgarbossa, who missed the last game due to a facial injury, could make a return after participating in non-game group skate. And to get another look at him, he was another guy that I don't think was ever slated to be on the big team last season, but injuries are what kind of draw that into focus. So that is a key player to keep your eye on. Sgarbossa at points last season was big. The upcoming game then against the Devils, as the hockey is coming in rapid succession now. After the game in Boston, the Capitals will head to New Jersey to face the Devils at Prudential Center on Wednesday already. It's likely they will have a different roster for that matchup, as Coach Spencer Carberry has hinted at imminent roster transactions in order to trim down the 72-man training camp roster. So a lot of storylines to follow. And again, I'm glad you guys are joining me here on Locked On Capitals as it gets closer to the start of the hockey season. Some of these other hockey podcasts that were in the mothballs for the offseason are back in action. So I want to give my wholehearted thanks for being along on this podcast, as this is your daily podcast year-round. When the other podcasts go away in the summertime, Locked On Capitals remains. And I want to thank all of you that listen and watch on a regular basis. Listen, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, your only daily year-round podcast covering the Washington Capitals. And I want to thank all of you that are watching this on YouTube or listening on the audio side. You are what makes this show successful. All right. Once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.